Waters of Nazareth, Justice, 2006. Took about 4 hours to make. I'd already had it in my head, really, what needed to be done. It was a very straightforward, functional mix, and that's kind of sometimes the opposite of what I look to do. But with this track, I love the original, I love what it did. I love the fact that it was more rock and roll than it was dance or electro or 4/4 or anything like that. So it was more about taking fundamentally a rock record and ironing it out so it could work in DJ sets, and also presenting it in a way that was going to be incredibly easy for DJs to play, which is why you have those drums at the beginning, which are pretty much almost like inviting you to mix it over another record. When I had the parts sent to me, which were, I think, about 4 or 5 stereo stems, there wasn't that much to it. I had it in my head as to what the peak should be, like the peak moment, and what it should do, and then constructed it to build up to that and then build down from it. So it was really easy to put together, but that was because I'd had it already fully formed in my head from knowing and loving the original, which I'd heard a long time before. Actually, I remember when I first heard it, Gaspard and Xavier sent it to me on iChat back in like 2005 perhaps, and it already had sounded like a massive progression from what they'd been doing before. So when I was asked to remix it by Pedro, it was really straightforward and simple. The idea of what I would do came immediately. It's definitely one of mixes from that whole era that I feel like a real strong affinity with, purely because I was playing it everywhere I was going. I was playing it at Trash, it was being played in Bugged Out, it was being played at festivals and every party, and a big part of that is to do with the fact that what Justice were doing then and around the time across was just such a powerful moment in electronic music, and it was also a big turning point, and it was a moment where it felt like a lot of fresh and young blood was coming into a scene which needed at that point reinvigoration and needed a new spirit. I'm saying that in the sense that I've already, as somebody who's a fan of that scene already, but recognizing that this new thing or this new sound or these new people that were coming into it was nothing but a healthy thing. It was good for everybody, and it was exciting, and it was colourful, and it was melodic, and it had energy and attitude and all those things that I love about music in general, and with the cycle of things, it felt like the right wave to wash over everything. And this mix was this track in general, I mean, it's one that I suppose became quite influential accidentally, in the sense that I didn't hide the isolated drum sounds. So the kick and snare that you hear at the beginning was sampled and used on quite a few productions. So you were kind of hearing the sound of Waters of Nazareth in loads of other different records, which in retrospect, I suppose, helped. It helped kind of accelerate this sound or a scene to a degree. It was I think it's kind of naivety that you take for granted at the time, and when looking back, you see how it kind of inadvertently had this effect that you wouldn't have expected. But I remember when it was first made, Gaspard asked me, after playing it for the first time, if people had somersaulted during its play, and I told them that they hadn't somersaulted, but that was kind of like the point, because like their version is like the original is the somersault version, and this is not. This was to be something different in a sense, and I mean, I'm really happy that they like it enough. They use elements of it in the live show. So it's one that I feel that similar to like the Franz Ferdinand mix, where the artist has accepted it to a degree, and that meant a lot to me. And when that happens, it can only mean a lot to me. It feels like whatever work I've done has been worthwhile.